In F123, Zandvoort feels almost like a completely different track compared to last year. Codemasters have made a lot of improvements to this track's realism, and this really impacts how you approach this circuit. Zandvoort is an inherently tricky track to master, kind of due to its unusual layout, but also due to its strange braking zones. But the wider track in F123 really helps you carry some additional speed through some turns, and some corners such as the reprofiled turn 2 are much more enjoyable. That doesn't make this track easy to master by any means, with precision and stability still really required to get the fastest lap times. Now Zandvoort's another track that does benefit from a higher aero setup, much like Hungary. The corners themselves aren't too slow, with a good mixture of slow to medium and a few high-speed corners. However, the sheer number of corners puts a heavy reliance on high downforce levels. Go with 45 on the front wing and just 36 on the rear. Now this is possibly the largest gap between front and rear wings that I've run in a car setup so far in F123. However, the need for front end grip results in a much higher front wing aero setup. Much like our other high downforce car setups such as Hungary and Monaco, go with 50% on throttle differential to aid with rear traction, and then go with 51% off throttle. For the suspension geometry, I've opted for maximum levels of camber at -2.5 and -1, although technically this is the minimum amount of camber, but that's F123's strange camber labelling right there. Then go with high levels of toe with 0.06 at the front and 0.25 at the rear. The main thing we need here is high rear toe to aid with extra stability. This is important through the faster corners, as well as mitigating some of the rear downforce loss that comes from the low rear wing angle. I've opted for a stiff front suspension to aid responsiveness and a soft rear suspension to ensure the car remains compliant. Go with 36 and 9 on your suspension setup, then go with 10 and 5 on your ARBs, and finally go with the ride height setup of 36 and 40. For the brake setup, I've opted for 100% brake pressure, then I have lowered the brake bias to 53%. This rearward brake bias is beneficial through the corners where you're turning whilst braking at the same time, as it prevents understeer. However, if you find the rear of your car becoming unstable under braking at certain points of the lap, you can safely increase it to 54 or even 55% if needed. You really want to manage tyre temperatures around Zandvoort, as the temperatures and wear can build up through the fast segments of track. Go with 22.7 psi for both front tyres, then lower the rears to 20.3 and 20.1 psi. This is designed to target the rear tyres and in particular the rear left tyre, which will be the tyre that wears the fastest throughout a race. Now this setup shares many similarities with our Hungary setup, and both are kind of interchangeable. Zandvoort is very similar to Hungary in its characteristics, and much like Hungary, it's also very tricky to master. This setup is really designed to help your car be as responsive and stable as possible, really allowing you to push hard where needed. Let me know how you find this track and whether you like the improvements in F123. And if you like this car setup and other car setups so far, consider subscribing and hit that alert bell and you'll be notified every time I drop a new car setup video. But for now guys, enjoy this setup and I'll see you out there on track.